Y'all know me, man. I shake things up. I ruffle feathers. I'm the king of the unpopular opinion. And due to the fact that I'm some pimping for real, I have quite the unconventional way of thinking and perspective on life. So with that being said, I know some of y'all seeing this title and you like, nah, Freeze. Women don't like being manipulated. They complain about people trying to manipulate them all the time. Man, like I said in the title, and I'm telling you now, women not only like being manipulated, but they love being manipulated. They can't go too long without being manipulated. So we gonna get into it. But first, wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Let's go.
But you want all this pimping you can't afford. Perform like a punk, but wanna win his reward. Some suckers give you points, but bitch, you never scored. If you ain't paying pimping, then bitch, you getting ignored.
Okay.
I'm so sick of these.
I know. You thought romance, flowers, cars, and candy, being a sweetheart and all that nonsense was the key to having your way with some of these ladies. And to be honest with you, that is key to the exceptional woman's heart. But hey, man, the exceptional woman in 2025 is a needle in a haystack mission to find. I mean, have you ever really tried to find a needle in a haystack? You ain't even gonna waste your time. So on the same token, man, we talking about the haystack right now, which is the majority of these women. And the fact of the matter is they love being manipulated, right? And their favorite person to be manipulated by is themselves. This is a fact. This is why they can't let anybody see them, and they can't go anywhere. They can't be caught on camera or by anybody's eyes being seen as their raw, uncut self. That's why they have to have the costume on. They gotta have the lace front and they gotta have the lashes, right? So many of them. Or, you know, even the makeup. And when I say makeup, I'm not talking about the makeup that, you know, some women, very few women know how to put on to complement their look. No, I'm talking about the makeup that makes them look like a completely different person. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. I remember I had this one chick, man, when I first met her. You know, she had a lot of makeup on, but she still looked good. She was a pretty girl, right? And no, this wasn't a black girl. This is a white girl. You know, I know y'all probably thinking about I'm talking about only black women, but no, I'm talking about all women, right? But this chick, man, I remember when I finally seen her without makeup. I'm talking about look like two totally different people. Look like strangers. Look like they ain't never even met each other before ever in their life. Look like this one grew up in the Eastern Hemisphere and the other one grew up in the Western Hemisphere, and they ain't never been nowhere near one another. You dig? That's how different they look. One looked like night, the other one looked like day. But it's the same woman, just she put the makeup on and it's like a costume, right? But all this plays into them manipulating themselves, them convincing themselves that that their reality is who they dress themselves up to be, right? And then the manipulation goes further when they present this costume to the world, and the world is complimenting them on this costume or while they're in this costume, right? You know, and you know, so that's, you know, the lace fronts, the lashes, and the makeup. Hey man, like I said before in a previous live that I did, man, that unfortunately is gone forever. I'm so mad at myself that I deleted that live without saving that live like I thought I did. But I did a live a few years ago entitled Lace Fronts and Lashes, and man, it was a classic. I broke this thing down to its minute, and it was beautiful, right? But yeah, man, you know, the lace front and the lashes is like that movie Gremlins. You know, for any of y'all who've never seen the Gremlins movie back in the day, you know, you see sweet little Gizmo. He's like the soft, cuddly gremlin, and he's cool, right? And that's how all of them start out. But man, if you feed them things chicken after midnight, boy, they turn into monsters. The same Gremlins, you know, they turn into straight monsters. And that's how a lot of these chicks are, you know. If you could ever catch them without the lace front, without the lashes, without the costume of makeup, right, to make them look like somebody completely different. If you could catch them like that, man, they the most humble, sweet people, you dig? But man, when they put that lace front and them lashes on, man, they get real Hollywood on you. They get beside themselves. They start acting like somebody that they're not because they look like somebody that they're not, and therefore get treated like somebody that they're not, and they act like somebody that they're not. And this is all a part of them manipulating themselves to believe that there's somebody that they're not. I'm telling you, they love manipulation, not just like it, but they love it, right? And then, man, this is just in the flesh. But man, on social media, it gets even worse. And y'all know what I'm talking about, right? You know, the angles. And then now, oh my goodness, this is such a new thing. It probably ain't too many people talking about it right now, but it's becoming more and more popular, man, with this AI thing. This AI shit, man, these chicks are altering the shape of their bodies to make their body look like, you know, some phenomenal body that's not real. They using the AI to manipulate their bodies into something that it's not, right? So just imagine a chick, you know, who doesn't like the way she's shaped, and she figures out how to use AI to do little videos of her, you know, shaking her ass, or, you know, twerking, or, you know, just moving in a sexual way. And she's able to use AI to alter her body in a way that she wishes that it naturally was. Man, y'all see what I'm talking about on Instagram and probably on TikTok too. I ain't really on TikTok too heavy, but I know on Instagram, man, it's going down. It's a lot of chicks on there using the AI to make their body look like something that it really ain't. And you can imagine how the DMs is getting flooded by the fools who don't know any better, who can't look at this body and tell that it's clearly AI. It's crazy, man. You know, but that's all a part of chicks manipulating themselves, right? They, in a sense, are manipulating other people who don't know any better, to the untrained eyes, minds, and ears. They're manipulating them into liking something that's not real, which is a altered version, a manipulated version of themselves. So they manipulate people, they manipulate others to a certain extent, but they really manipulating themselves, right? Because when they do that, and then, oh man, it's so many chicks that they be using them filters to make themselves look like somebody that they ain't. I remember one time, man, I was talking to my pimp partner, right? And he was like, yeah, man, you know, the such and such chick was just on my line, man. You had her before. And I was like, who you talking about, P? And he described her. He was like, man, I can't remember her name that you might remember her by. She gave me a different name, but she light skinned, whoopty whoopty whoop. I'm like, light skinned? Then I start asking him questions like, where's she from? Where she live? When did I have her? So he started breaking things down to me. And then he was looking for her on his phone the whole time. Then he finally found her page and showed it to me. And I was like, oh, nah, P, that chick ain't light skinned. That chick your complexion. Because he was like a brown skin. You know what I mean? Like, I can't think of nobody to describe P's complexion, but he was like, he wasn't nowhere near light skin at all. He was like a darker brown, you dig? And I was like, man, P, that chick is your complexion, man. But when he showed me the pictures, she did look light skinned on there. She did use the filters to make herself look light skinned, right? But that's all a part of the manipulation. Now, the sad part about it is, you know, in her natural self, she was a pretty girl. But, you know, somewhere, you know, somebody along the line might have convinced her that, you know, her skin complexion wasn't good enough, so she manipulated herself and altered her complexion on the internet with these filters and everything, and now she got people complimenting her for something that's not true, that's not real, that's manipulated, right? So this all plays into chicks manipulating themselves. Their favorite person to be manipulated by is themselves. They love manipulating themselves, right? So, this leads to their choices in men. Now, I know a lot of you guys, you've probably had similar experiences to myself where you be like, man, the chick was with me, man, and she had it going on. She was doing this, doing that. We was making this happen, making that happen. Everything was good. But then, she left me and she went and got with this dude. His whole life is a con. His whole life is a lie. He done ran the con game on her and got her thinking that this is what it is, but it really ain't. You know what I mean? And she thinking he in love with her, but he really ain't. And this, that, and third, come to find out, he was just running drag on her the whole time. And then, she want to come crawling back to me, but I'm like, nah, I'm cool. We've all had these types of experiences. Those of us who, are, quality men, if you will, right? But the reason why chicks choose guys like that, especially they'll leave a quality man and go choose a guy like that, is because they like being manipulated. Even if in the process of being manipulated, they get done dirty, dudes do them wrong, dog them, run them through the mud. As long as within that, they get to feel good. Oh man, they love the manipulation. They love being manipulated by, guys that, are not the truth. They don't really like being with the truth. They like the idea of the truth, right? A lot of chicks, they like the idea of the truth. They like the presentation of the truth, right? You might be a dude, you got your financial situation is straight, you take care of yourself, you handsome, you got your shit together, your presentation is nice, everything is the truth about you is the shit. And you would think that because of that, the women that you like would just be elated to get down with you and be with you, right? But what happens is, by you being the truth and a chick who's been living a lie and manipulating herself for so long, the idea of getting with the truth seems cool, but when they finally get with the truth, it's too much for them. It's too much truth for them. They can't handle that. They like, damn, he not like me. He ain't manipulating himself into believing that he's something that he not. No, he's real. This is the truth. He's really the truth. I'm thinking I'm looking for a flaw somewhere, and this is why chicks play a lot of games when they get with the truth, right? I remember this goofy ass chick one time, right? She seen and heard some things about me on the internet, right? So one day we together and she is just on some bullshit, right? She really pushing buttons. And the whole time she's trying to manipulate me into putting my hands on her. But I didn't fall for it, right? The shit that she was doing, as disrespectful as it might have been, as offensive as it might have been, as irritating as it might have been, I didn't resort to that, right? So then she finally came clean. And mind you, this is somebody who manipulates themselves to the extreme, come to find out, right? But she was like, yeah, I seen this and seen that on the internet, so I just wanted to see if that was really you, so I was saying and doing certain things to try to make you put your hands on me, but I see that that's not really you. Crazy, right? They love manipulation. What chick gets with the truth and, because the truth is so true and, it seems too good to be true, they like, I know I got a whole bunch of flaws, and I know I'm manipulating myself, and I know, the good attributes about me are not the truth. It's manipulation. So because there's so much wrong with me, it got to be something wrong with him. Let me see if I could get him to do this, or let me see if I could figure this out, or let me see if I could twist this around and see how he'll respond to that. It's crazy. So when they can't manipulate the truth in you as a man who's the truth, right? They go get with somebody who, in some cases, they can manipulate them, but somebody who's going to manipulate them, right? Because as the truth, you don't deal in manipulation. So you're not going to manipulate her like she's been manipulating herself, and like guys in her past have been manipulating her, right? So when there's no room for manipulation with you as the truth, she going to go get with somebody who got plenty of room for manipulation. And there's plenty of manipulation going on. And he might even be manipulating himself. You know what I mean? I know cats who wear fake jewelry just because they like to get with certain chicks who are superficial and like being manipulated and constantly manipulating themselves. And them types of guys, they be like, yeah, chick don't care, if it's real or fake. She ain't gonna take the time to figure out if it's real or fake. You know what I mean? She gonna see this and she gonna be like, wow. You know what I mean? But that's just one. I know a lot of cats who are in the game, right? And they whole thing is manipulation, but they stay knocking chicks, catch hand crazy, and they have what some would appear to some as prosperity. You dig? But yeah, man, a lot of chicks, they just love being manipulated, and they love dealing with guys who by nature will manipulate them. And even if they got to get dogged or whatever, because, and this is why chicks like to get drunk and high so much, right? Sensation is manipulation for a lot of these chicks, right? When you feel the sensation of a mind-altering substance, it's manipulating the reality, right? It's putting you in a state of, something that's not real, a fantasy. So, chicks love escaping reality. So that's why a lot of them, get drunk and high. Now, if you the type of man, again, this the truth, and you're not the type of person who, is constantly getting drunk and high, constantly under the influence of mind-altering substances, a chick is going, who loves being manipulated, she gonna get bored with you, right? Because your sensation comes from fulfillment, and fulfillment is, a type of satisfaction that it just lasts much longer than, the sensation that comes from manipulation. And not just that, but fulfillment, you got to be the truth in order to reach that fulfillment. You got to be the truth. You can't deal in manipulation and reach fulfillment. Fulfillment has to come from the truth, right? So that's the type of sensation that chicks who love being manipulated, they not accustomed to, and they're not ready for. They're not mature enough and grown enough for that, right? Mentally. So yeah, they like being manipulated. So they'll go get with the dude, who is gonna let them get high to their heart's content, and possibly even get high with them, and then especially, if it's a overindulgence of intimacy going on, you dig, combined with the mind altering substances. Oh man, and then his whole reality is con. Oh man, they gonna give somebody like that a run, because everything is unreal, everything is con, everything is manipulation, and that's what these chicks love. So they gonna run to somebody like that and cling to him. You dig? And then when it goes bad, usually when it ends bad. And when it goes bad, they're going to try to come crawling back to the truth, knowing that they're not even prepared to be with the truth and deal with the truth, but they know the truth is what's best for them. It's like vitamins, when you a kid, right? When you a kid, when your mom or your dad give you vitamins, they don't really taste good, but they good for you, right? And for a lot of these chicks, the truth don't really taste good to them. The truth that's a man, the truth in the form of a man don't taste good to them, but they know it's the best thing for them. They know it's the healthiest thing for them, but it don't feel good. It don't taste good. So, it's not they don't have that acquired taste of the truth. So, they gonna run off, right? And so another thing about them loving to be manipulated. Yeah, man, this one's really gonna shake it up. Yeah, when that thing called accountability. Yeah, man, that's why they gonna duck and dodge that. You know what I mean? They gonna social distance themselves from accountability like it's COVID, man, like it's the pandemic. You dig? They gonna keep a healthy social distance from accountability, man, because accountability has to do with the truth. Accountability has to do with honesty. So imagine a chick, a female, whose whole life is based on manipulation. When she goes and presents herself to the world, that presentation is manipulation, right? So she's manipulating herself into believing that she's somebody that she's not, and she's manipulating the world into believing that she's somebody that she's not. So when they make mistakes, like all human beings do, see, people, that's the truth. We love who we are, good, bad, and ugly, every aspect of ourselves. The truth, we embrace the truth, right? So those of us who are the truth, when we make mistakes, we hold ourselves accountable before anybody else has the opportunity to, right? That's a part of being the truth. But see, a chick who's the antonym, the truth, the complete opposite of truth, yeah, man, accountability, she gon' duck and dodge that. She gonna do the Barry Sanders and do the spin move, and how they say hoe spin, she gon' 304 spin on accountability, man. She gonna stay in pocket on accountability, man. And it's crazy because accountability be sweating these chicks, man. Accountability stay trying to knock their ass, but man, they gonna do the hoe spin and stay in pocket on accountability every time. You dig? It's a futile endeavor. Accountability ain't gonna get nowhere with these chicks, man. So when you try to hold these chicks accountable, they gonna duck and dodge that because it's too real. It's too true. It's too honest to hold yourself accountable. And they act like they gonna unalive themselves if they hold themselves accountable for any mistake that they make, any wrong that they do, right? But, nah. And then some chicks, they even want to manipulate themselves into believing that they're real, true, and honest, right? So some chicks will verbally speak the language of accountability, but their physical language, their action language, their body language, it don't speak accountability at all. And you got to be careful of that too, because a lot of chicks will talk the language of accountability verbally. They'll make a mistake and they'll say, yeah, I did this. I realized I was wrong. I apologize. I shouldn't have did that. They'll go through all of that, right? But as I say all the time, the best apology is corrected behavior. The behavior will remain the same, right? Because, that's, the true accountability is going to be, if they do something in error, they're going to correct the behavior in which they made that error, right? But no, they ain't not going to do that. They'll speak the language verbally, but not actively. You dig? And, all of this has to do with manipulation. They love manipulation so much. They're not going to step outside of that manipulation. They're not going to step outside of that altered reality that they've created for themselves to hold themselves accountable for you. Why would they do that? How's that going to benefit them? That's their mindset. Now those of us who are the truth, we know how accountability benefits ourselves, right? I know how accountability benefits me, and I know how accountability benefits those who I interact with, right? But somebody who's in love with manipulation and loves being manipulated, nah. Manipulation benefits them. They understand perfectly how manipulation benefits them. That's why they love manipulating themselves, and they love being manipulated by others, and they love being manipulated by mind-altering substances, drugs, and alcohol, right? They love being in a constant state of manipulation, right? And when they go to sleep and they having dreams, it's a whole lot of manipulation going on in there too. Can you imagine how their dreams are? Oh my goodness. I wish, just for the sake of entertainment, I could just go, just transfer from mind to mind when these chicks asleep just to see their dreams, man. I know, man, the entertainment got to be off the chain, man. Can you imagine the manipulation taking place in these chicks' dreams? Oh man, I know it's a blast, right? But yeah, man, the bottom line, the majority of chicks love being manipulated. So now that you understand this, right, you should be able to notice certain things off top that'll let you know whether or not this is the type of chick who loves to be manipulated. Even before you say anything to them, if you just observe and pay attention, just look, you'll be able to figure out if this is most likely somebody who loves to be manipulated, who loves manipulating themselves and loves being manipulated by others. You dig? Let that marinate on your mind one time, man. Freezes it. Go ahead, put some of this good old love in your body like so. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful to P. We out. Dig this.
Yeah.
I been stroking relentless to get waves like this. I spoke into existence for her to pay like this. In the trenches on a day like this, traffic consistent, and so I have to insist that she relay my chips. It's a trap with her name on it and my game on it. Any forces coming against this game, shame on it. Standing on my pimpin' from day one and remain on it. It carried me through every terrain and I gained on it. Experience joy and pain on it, sustained on it.
But getting back to this game that I never left.
Baby, I would